Um, I would like to make a video to help the followers of this channel elevate their consciousness. But first I will say that I am limited to 10 videos each day, and if you want to follow me, you can follow me on the channel Eternal Light. I will put the link in the description, because when I am inspired I make more than 10 videos a day. But the question is how to attain, to reach divine consciousness. I could begin by saying that the divine, or God, the formal definition, by making a formal statement, it helps see the picture, but it's not enough. But it helps nonetheless. God is the identity of thought and being, or the identity of the subject and the object, or the identity of identity and difference. So the divine, or God, is a unity of opposite determinations which are grasped conceptually in their unity. That's the formal definition of God. And all the things which unite within themselves opposite determinations, they are strange, fascinating, and they have a divine aspect. Let me take an example. Beauty. We believe spontaneously that beauty is divine. Even the atheists acknowledge that this is divinely beautiful, or this is supremely beautiful. They use religious adjectives to qualify what is beautiful. But what is beauty? Beauty is a unity of unity and multiplicity. What is beautiful? Formally, one definition of beauty could be said that it is a unity which orders and structures a multiplicity within it. And in art, we often imagine beauty as being symmetry, order, structure. So beauty is a totality, and a beautiful woman is a woman whose features are symmetric, and the size and the proportions of her face and of her body respects a certain mathematic determination. So that's just an example. But we also and this is just the formal definition of the divine, a unity of opposites. And in order to arrive at a consciousness of the divine, you must understand all the determinations of being, and being is whatever is, the world, if you will, all the determinations of being which make you be what you are. So you have to adopt an encyclopedic view of being, which includes within itself your own identity. An encyclopedic means a circle of knowledge. And my first piece of advice would be, I will take from the notes that I have taken. Start by reading a book about logic or language, or an introduction to philosophy. That's the beginning, to understand the meaning and the relationship between thought and language. And a book about language or philosophy, or an introduction to philosophy is a very good start. Then you can read philosophy books. But if you're not into the business of philosophy, you can skip to the natural sciences, physics. You can study mathematics also, but you can start by physics because there are mathematical determinations within physics, and you have to understand the development and the history of the cosmos. I am not a cosmological evolutionist, but in order to understand yourself as a part of being, you have to start by envisioning the cosmological history as is told by the modern physicists. So you have to understand in broad outline the history and the development of the cosmos, the physical universe, and have a broad understanding of the physical laws at work in the universe, the solar system, the galaxies, the electromagnetic field, gravity, the properties of matter, time. You have to have a broad outline and to think of yourself as being a moment in the unfolding, in the developing process of cosmic evolution. Then you have to have a broad understanding of chemistry and biology, and a broad view of the development of life, how life emerges, and you have to think of yourself as being both a product of cosmological evolution and biological evolution. Then, that's the turning point. You have to understand your socio-biological determinism. You have to understand yourself as an individual inhabiting a body, and you have to understand the ethnic, racial, and psychological determinations of your identity, and to understand that you belong to a certain group of people, and which is characterized by certain physical and psychological features. And this is in the philosophy of Spinoza. Spinoza says that man is not an empire within an empire, that man lives in the continuity of nature. And in the modern West, by rejecting sociobiology as being a racist science, the establishment rejects the connecting link between the realm of nature and the realm of what Hegel calls spirit, which are the manifestation of human activity and the products of thinking and acting men. So you have to understand your socio-biological determinism. Then you have to understand your psychological determinism. So you can study books about psychology to understand how you function as a thinking and feeling being, how your mind works, how your emotions function, how the brain and the heart and the body function together. Then you have to understand, I would say, politics, which is the attempt to unify the different individual psyches together. So you have to have an understanding of yourself as being a political individual. You are living, even if you are living in the middle of a forest, you are still part of a political entity, and you have to have a broad understanding of the modern conditions of the political life in the country in which you live, and you have to have a broad view of what the left and the right is, democracy, authoritarianism, communism, libertarianism, a broad view, and to understand your own position, your own political idea and ideology within the frame of the development of modern politics. Then you have to understand economics. You are an economic agent, and you have to understand in broad view the economic modes of production of your society, of your individual self, your work, or if you're a stay-at-home person, how you will finance your food and your needs, how you are in relation to the company for which you work, the business for which you work, how it is in relation with other businesses, with the economic structure at large, etc., etc. You have to have an understanding of sociology, how your social status and the socio-economic backgrounds of your parents has determined your way of thinking, your upbringing, your education, how your social status affects your beliefs and your behaviors. And then you have to understand how women function, or how men function, whether you are a woman or a male, the sexual differences, which it's more in the realm of psychology. I should have said it earlier, but it's not at this moment. The order is not necessary as such. You just have to go through all the steps. So you have to understand how the relationships between the sexes and the genders work, and you have to understand yourself as a sexual being with the psychological and cultural aspects that it entails. You have to understand the JQ. You have to understand that the Jewish people is very influential. It is very intelligent, and they have a special and a separate religion and a separate view from mankind, and you have to understand the JQ in its broad outline. That yeah, and it's part of the sociobiological, but it's also it is also manifest in the realm of politics, economics, etc. Then you have to understand how geopolitics work, which is politics in the realm of state relationships, and that you can read the news or buy books about geopolitics. You should understand ecology, how men adapt to their biological environment, and you have to have a view of this. And finally, what Hegel calls the realm of absolute spirit, you should have a view of, no, I forgot, you should have a view of history also. You should have a broad view. Once you have explored all the topics that I've just mentioned, you should have a historical knowledge of how politics, economics, sociology, psychology, sociobiology have influenced the development of world history. And first begin by knowing the history of your own country, or your own country of birth, and the interactions between the various states and countries in world history. You have to have a broad view of the development of human history, which is a continuation of biological history and cosmological history. And then there's the realm of absolute spirit, which is art, religion, and philosophy. And you have to understand why you appreciate the works of art that you appreciate. You don't have to be a specialist in classical art or 17th century art or 19th century art, or the arts of Egyptians or pre-Columbian civilizations or African civilization. If you just like Hollywood movies or even video games or pop culture, special songs, you have to understand, with all the knowledge that you have gathered, it may take many weeks, many months, many years, I don't know, to understand why you love the things that you love. And in religion, you have to understand why you are attracted towards a certain type of religious view, and you have to study the religion which fits best your soul, knowing that in the absolute all the religions are one. But that's another story. And finally, while you are going through this process of gathering knowledge, you should always keep in mind to have a philosophical view, which is a conceptual understanding of the whole process of knowledge. And my advice would be to read Hegel, but if you don't want to read Hegel, you can find another philosopher, as long as it enables you to systematize, order, classify, and structure the process of gaining knowledge. And when you will be able to give a broad understanding and a speech and a thinking consideration of how your being is connected to the totality of being, which is the self-development of being, you will understand yourself better, and you will understand your unity with the process at work in the world, and you will have spiritual experiences along the way. So that's a broad outline, a broad view that I can give you. It's think about your life and try to understand your relationship with the whole of being. That's the first step.